All right, we're going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're also going to open up with a moment of silent prayer. All righty. So again, I want to welcome everybody for showing up tonight. We really appreciate it. So we're going to get the meeting going here. We're going to start here with item A and approve or amend the council minutes of March 2nd, 2026. Any questions, additions, corrections there? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Kevin, seconded by Mike. Aaron?
Yes.
Chad?
Abstain.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Kevin.
Yes.
Item B, approve bills and payroll in the amount of $505,380.69. And we got the February 2026 financials. Any questions there? And if not, Aaron can answer anything if you need on the financial part there. I'll ask for a motion to approve. Carl, seconded by Chad. Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
And Carl.
Yes.
Alrighty. Item C, County Road 24 and State Route 2 roundabout presentation. We have a representative from Tetra here, David Charville, and of course our Chief Engineer, Jack Zapruder, and he's going to address council on the progress on the roundabout.
So, thank you, Mayor, Council. It's been a few months at least since we've discussed the roundabout project, and at this point in the plan process, which we call Phase 1 submittal, we felt it appropriate that we update council and on the process that we have thus far with that project. And like the mayor said, I have Dave Charville. He is with the consultant Tetra Tech, and he's going to talk specifically more about the project. But before that, I thought I'd kind of give a quick recap on what has gotten us to this point. So if you recall, early 2024, we contracted with DGL for the safety study, which then submitted an application to ODOT with their Highway Safety Improvement Program, HSIP. We were awarded that HSIP funding in May of 2024. In December of 24 then, a request for qualifications was sent out to prospective consultants. Those RFQs were then sent to the village, evaluated. Tetra Tech was then chosen in January of 25 to be the consultant to design this project for the village. And then in April of 2025, the consultant agreement was signed with Tetra Tech, and then that's where they took off from there. So then the village, being an LPA, a local public agency, we are in charge of contracting with the consultant directly. It's not an ODOT consulted project. It's not being designed by ODOT, it's being designed by a private consultant. And then now Tetra Tech is taking that design, and Dave can then kind of fill you in a little bit on where they're at now with that process.
Thank you, Dexter.
So we started last July, I think, doing the survey and geotechnical investigations. Took a couple months, and then since October of last year through January of this year, We did our preliminary design, submitted that to ODOT and to the village for review. We have the review comments, and so that's kind of where we're at right now. We'll go over the rest of the schedule here in a minute. So this is kind of the overall project layout. It's kind of zoomed out because there's a few things that we found as we went through the preliminary design. One, there was not an adequate drainage outlet nearby, so we're proposing to actually put in a new storm sewer up Township Road 24 to Westfield Drive and then outlet to the creek. So that's part of the project, and then we're also extending a sidewalk from Westfield Drive west to the roundabout, and then we'll have a crossing at the roundabout over to Dollar General. Be able to pedestrian there. Next slide. So it's just a little bit closer layout of the project. Go to the next one. And then kind of up close as well on this view. One of the concerns we had heard is about agricultural equipment using the roundabout and being able to get through it. So we did some investigations, as we do on all of these. We do some truck turning analysis, some agriculture turning equipment analysis, and one of the things we decided to do on this project is we'll have some outside truck aprons, which are just areas where the normal public in a car won't use those areas, but then if a larger vehicle like trucks or agricultural equipment comes through, they'll be able to use that extra space.
Yep, sorry, I'm trying to let the audience know. There's places.
So this is kind of an example of another project that you've done. This is actually out in Ottawa County, on Marblehead, where we've got these outside truck aprons. We actually did this to accommodate. There's a lot of large boat hauling that goes on to Lake Erie, so we use these to help accommodate that, and we're proposing them for this project as well. Go ahead. So right now, like I said, we have our stage 1 review comments, so we're working on the design, the right-of-way design, so the plans for the acquisition of right-of-way. That's due this summer, and then the final roadway plan design is due next year, and then later this year we'll start the right-of-way acquisition, and that is also through next year, and then construction is scheduled for summer of 2020. So this, our preliminary cost estimate, the total cost for construction is $3.6 million. The village of Archbold is paying for 100% of the water and sewer extension costs, which is about $400,000, and 10% of the construction costs, for a total of approximately $720,000. That's it. Update. Questions?
Dexter, you want to elaborate just on that water and sewer?
So that was something that we, as the village, decided would be prudent to extend water sanitary underneath this footprint of the roundabout, so that we weren't coming back, who knows when, possibly a few years later, to rip up brand new pavement and extend those utilities. So we thought that wise to include that. That's something that is not eligible for HSEP funding because it's not directly related to the roadway and the safety funding. So that cost is going to be 100% responsible for the village. And if you recall, the village has a 10% share in everything else, essentially. And so that figure that Dave just showed speaks to that. 10% of the construction cost is the village's responsibility.
Dave, is that, what's the expected time frame as far as how long to construct this? And is it gonna be completely shut down, that entire intersection during construction?
Yes, it will be shut down, rather than, we'll have to maintain access to the local businesses. We haven't set it in stone, but it's probably gonna be a 45 to 60 day closure, somewhere in that range.
Do we have any maps or pictures of how the entrances or exits will be for said businesses?
It's part of our layout. Yeah.
Is there a way you can enlarge it?
Dexter, on the, extensions of water and wastewater, is that just heading down City Route 2?
We're gonna go both directions. So there already is water and sanitary north of the intersection. We're gonna go west and south and basically just go to the limits of the project.
Your sidewalk. You're gonna run that in front of a Marathon and then cross right there then?
Correct.
Are we gonna put, some kind of warning signals up for pedestrian to cross and traffic?
Typically on a single lane roundabout, it's just signage. It's typically just signage.
And then we're gonna continue the sidewalk over the Dollar General then?
Correct. We have it going to the north to the driveway.
The sidewalks was something we discussed with Tetra Tech and internally quite a bit, was whether to extend those sidewalks to the south and southwest. Because if we ever think that we're going to do it, now would be the time, so that we're not coming back and cutting up the aprons, the splitter islands, so that those are part of the project initially. Because as you can imagine, that's quite intrusive to come back later and cut those in. But we just felt that it wasn't money well spent, not knowing what that development was gonna look like. The southeast quadrant is ConAgra, that's probably not gonna change. The southwest is agricultural, not knowing what that's gonna be. We felt that a sidewalk, at least to the northeast and northwest quadrants, made the most sense at this time.
Thank you.
Will there still be two entrances on the north side of the intersection going onto the gas station?
No, just do the one.
Just gonna be one, the north side?
Correct.
What do you mean? So you're only gonna have one entrance into the main stop?
On, kind of the one on City Route 2.
And those are discussions that we're gonna have with these businesses. I mean, this is stage one, so the design is not gonna change significantly based on input that we receive, but there are things that we can look at and adjust if needed. Okay, thanks, Dexter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, item D, we have our law director, Robert Bonner here, and I'm gonna turn it over to Aaron to introduce him, and, he's going to address council, with some information.
So obviously, there's been a lot of discussion, which is why we have the crowd here that we do, regarding data centers, the speculative land grabs that are going on. We had our ordinance and resolution committee meeting 2 weeks ago. There was a recommendation to advance with a moratorium to council for recommending to council to pass one. And then, I think 2 days later, I received an email with an inquiry regarding, if we pass, and I have not seen that edit on here. If we pass an additional piece of legislation that would prohibit the annexation of any properties currently under, contract for option for purchase. So I brought that information to Bob Grant, and I met with him, and, after we met, we felt that it was important for Bob to share kind of the legal side of moratoriums, and also, just with passing a resolution or ordinance that would prohibit annexation, one, we kind of have the option just to say no. So Bob, with that, I'll let you take the floor.
Sure, just very briefly, obviously the decisions whether to proceed with an annexation or to rezone property actually within the village, there are processes and procedures for that, and that's exactly what we would expect.
You want to stand?
Not really, I'm talking to council. I mean, don't see a point.
Yeah.
One of the issues that I had initially was there's nothing actually before the village right now, okay? The village council is being asked to do some things, but it does not comport with the processes that exist for this council to ordinarily make decisions. So again, if a moratorium is wanted, the council can do it. From a legal perspective, a moratorium really doesn't mean much. And the reason for that's quite simple. A moratorium is a statement today that we don't want to do something, whatever that something is. But as soon as somebody comes in with a project that's interesting enough, it can be reversed. There's no process to cement that in, to make that permanent, because that's what zoning is. That's what annexation is. That's why there are specific processes for those things. I, from a legal perspective, don't see any point to a moratorium. Again, council may do what it wishes. It's council's decision. If there is no moratorium, or if there is, landowners in any point around the village or in the village already can make requests of this council. Whether it's an expedited 2, which is the presumptive way somebody would want to do an annexation, they can file, and then council has a specific timeline under the statute within which to say what services it would or would not provide. So that's when the decision is legally relevant. So let's pretend there's a different parcel so it's not controversial. Somebody files an expedited 2 on a piece of property. The council has to decide within a set period of time whether they're going to support it and let the parties know and the county know what different things would be provided. For example, water, sewer. What about roadways? So that's when the decision is ripe for bringing up and talking about. The same as if you have a property within the village and they make a request to change zoning, there's a process for that. So the questions being raised now aren't necessarily the wrong questions to ask. Legally, I think they're at the wrong time to ask. So if a property owner, however they acquired it, wishes to do a project and they petition for annexation, for example, then this body gets the decision whether they want to support that project or not. And all the reasons to like a project or all the reasons not to like a project are then going to be brought before this body to make a decision. And that includes if a moratorium's it. If I own a piece of property and I want to push a project that, let's say, is unpopular for some, I can still bring it. And it's up to this body to decide whether to annex or not. The state law is going to govern on that. So then we come to the more recent question, which comes down to, let's take one class of potential landowners and say, we won't consider that. I would consider that a non-starter, legally. We have a statute that governs annexation. And it doesn't say, and if this village or this city wishes to say we won't do it under this circumstance, I think you're jumping, you're putting the cart in front of the horse. Somebody has to file a petition. And if the village is not interested in such a project, they can say no. Okay, you don't have to provide water. You don't have to provide sewer. That's this village's decision to be made. So to sum it up, and I'm happy to answer any questions from council, again, the questions are valid questions, but again, I think the timeline is just incorrect. Legally, if somebody wants to we're guessing that there may be a project that's coming, that it may be an unpopular project to some, whether in the village or outside the village. And when those questions are actually asked, hey, I'd like to bring in this parcel on an expedited 2, for example, then council has to make a decision, yay or nay. And that's, again, from a legal perspective, there's just nothing, I don't believe this council needs to do a moratorium. I don't think it's going to legally have any great effect, if any at all. So I would probably leave it to the processes that are in place that have kept wanted and unwanted developments happening or not happening, as the case may be, throughout Ohio.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The city of Maumee just passed a 12-month moratorium.
Mhm.
I'm familiar with.
Mhm.
They have nobody coming in, nobody trying to put a data center in. 7 of the 19 townships in Wood County have passed them.
Mhm.
That have none coming in.
Mhm.
So you're saying that you wouldn't advise to doing something like that?
It still seems pointless to me. I mean,
Why are they doing that?
because they feel pressure to do it and they did it.
So you're saying never pass a moratorium?
A moratorium, again, let me take it out of Archbold, so I'm not pointing at this body. Take Maumee, they have a moratorium. Somebody comes in with a project, they listen to it, they can reverse the moratorium with a vote of council. A moratorium, again, it's not like zoning where you say, okay, we're gonna zone this property R2, and then somebody comes in and says, I'd like to turn that into a factory. Well, zoning has a foundation in law. A moratorium is a feeling of council at the moment. So again, and every legal counsel is entitled to give their own opinions on that. But when I'm sitting in front of this body, I represent you. And I don't see a point. I trust that this council will take up any petition for annexation or change of zoning and deal with it as it would any other. And if it's a project that is not in the best interest of Archbold or the area, it'll make that decision accordingly.
But a moratorium can be specific to a group of projects that you do not want to come in, correct?
That's what the people supporting them say, yes.
Okay, but you don't think it is?
I don't think that's a good idea, no. I think when you have different projects come in, they need to be judged on their own merits. For example, if they were to take the thought, anybody with an option, okay? Somebody wants to file a petition for annexation, for example, and say, you have an option on the property. You've singled out one subset of people with property rights. There are lots of property rights, lots of different ways people own or have a right to use property. I don't like singling out one over another. At the end of the day, if they have a right to possess that property either now or through taking an action, they have the right to ask, just like everybody else, equally protected, to ask for annexation or a change in zoning or any other process, a variance. It doesn't mean they're going to get what they want. I mean, again, if I go file a petition for something, there's no guarantee I'm going to get what I want. But again, there's no reason right now. I'm neutral on the questions of the moment. You know, again, if there's going to be a data center versus a factory, again, they have to equally come in and present the merits of their project.
Bob, thanks for coming in, appreciate it. Dale Arnold from Farm Bureau was at the township meeting last week, and I called him the next day, and he's kind of echoed exactly what you said. Don't file anything other than just table it for the moment because there's nothing to make a decision on. And he stated if we did do a moratorium, we'd just be opening ourselves up to legal battles.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
So when you single people out for things and you treat people disparately, there's a possibility somebody could file a claim against a township, a village, a city. That's just that. I mean, we're in a litigious society.
So we'd be fighting a lawsuit that we didn't even need to be fighting because at this point there's nothing on the table.
Right. I mean, if there was a project on the table, somebody was seeking annexation, the village is entitled under Ohio law to say, these are the services we'll provide. If it's precisely zero, then there's no services provided. You can say we oppose the annexation. You have those rights as a village at that point. But that's when the question is asked under Ohio law. Again, I don't know, whatever council wants to do, council will do, you know, when they get something filed. My point is, today, there's nothing before this body that is ripe for consideration because legally, nothing you would do today affects any particular project. And let me add that one thing that you just added, that might not open the village up to some possible exposure. What's the point? You have the rights under the law to say no or yes when asked appropriately.
It's great advice. No, one question I got, the one that's been posed to us before, and I agree with what you're saying. is that, there's this concern that the state can come in and override an annexation. I've never heard of that. I've talked to a couple of state reps about that, they said it's possible that it could happen, but it's typically that would be a public project, which this is not, this is a private project. So their advice to me was that probably could not or would not happen under a private, is that correct statement?
To my knowledge, that's a correct statement. Because again, the annexation statute, for an example, doesn't have, unless the state says otherwise, it doesn't say that. It really is a county, township, municipality issue. So,
And so in the case of water, I mean, the water treatment plant in our facility is owned by the village of Archbold and its taxpayers. We don't have to allow anybody to have access to that outside of the village with an annexation or whatever.
correct.
So,
I mean, annexations can happen without public services. Typically, Archbold is not interested in annexations that don't include that. But I never say never on that. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody came in, this is a hypothetical, somebody comes in with a project that's gonna use more water or create more wastewater than the system is designed to accommodate, then you can't say, yes, we will provide those services to that facility, because you can't. So it's an easy no based on the actual physical constraints of those systems. If there's excess capacity and it's a project that the village wants, it can say, we will provide these services. But that, again, that's a decision made when somebody's taken the step to prepare the documentation to ask, hey, we want to do this particular project and bring it in right here into the village. What say you? And then that starts the clock. We have a very short window after that's filed to say what the village will do and are you supportive or not.
How short's the window?
If I remember, it's off the top of my head, it's like 20 days is the first deadline.
Will the petition be filed?
No, they file the petition first. That's the first thing that happens.
We have 20 days to react.
I believe if I remember correctly, and again, usually I have my little cheat sheet in front of me. It's 20 days, I think, and then they have to, you have to provide what services you would provide. It's pretty tight, condensed.
Okay,
They call it expedited for a reason.
okay, thank you.
So this group here, pretty much speaking for myself, I think administration and council as a whole, we're totally against this, this data center project. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we are, in your opinion, we are protected. I mean, we don't have to allow that in. We don't need to create a moratorium to stop this project. In effect, it is stopped until the time it's presented to us, and then at that point, we are gonna put an end to it.
If that's the will of council at that time, absolutely. I mean, it's
And, you know, cause I just wanted to make it clear to everybody that we are working, we do not want this data center here. And we think about it, we talk about it every day. We don't want it to happen, and, so I just, you know, wanna make sure that they're aware that this is something that we're concerned about, so. Good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the township is not passing moratorium at this time either.
Correct. No. And we received similar
Guidance.
guidance.
And I will say that the last meeting we had in the Park Pavilion, it was noted by people that was there that they wanted the village and township to work together on this project and make sure both parties were equal in saying it is something. So I want you folks to understand that we're doing that. And it's our obligation with township trustees to be good partners to move forward and work together and not work against each other. You have your counsel, we have our counsel. That's our legal counsel goals. And we take our advice from both legal counsels and make sure we make the right decision moving forward. It's been that way for a long time.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Alrighty, gonna move right along here. Item E, resolution 2026-11. This is resolution authorizing the village administrator and the finance director to advertise for bid for miscellaneous street resurfacing. This is gonna be contract 3-2026 and declaring an emergency, and Aaron's gonna touch base on what our 2026 projects are gonna look like.
Actually, for once, I have my engineer here to present this topic.
So you can look at that map. This is pretty much, I would say 95% set. We're going to, starting from the south, you wanna go to the south. Pin Oak, section of Willow Way, and resurfacing. There's some significant base failures with Pin Oak. So that's looking to be a little bit higher price tag than what we initially envisioned. And along with any of these streets that I talk about that are curb and gutter, you take a look at the concrete curb and gutter. This is a good time to take care of any issues that we have with that. And I should note too, there was thought of doing all of Hawthorne. However, once we started getting into design, and probably your first packet that you received had Hawthorne as part of that. Once we started getting into more of the Pin Oak design, we realized that that was going to be higher than what we had originally budgeted. So Hawthorne was taken out of the project and will be done a subsequent year. Miller Avenue, we have some base failures with that, looking to just do some Band-Aids essentially to buy us more time. And that's approximately the area that we're going to be doing those. And work your way north. What's talked about before, I know the mayor's mentioned it, that concrete overlay. The concrete pavement that we had at the West Bar, Lafayette, South Pine Street intersection. That's not holding up like we'd like to see it. So the section south and north of the intersection, we're going to remove that 4 inches of concrete and then replace it with asphalt. There's a section of Jackson Street that we are looking to, that was actually set up as a project for last year, part of our resurfacing plan. When we started milling, we realized that Jackson Street's not quite as thick as what we thought, so we're going to rebuild a small section of Jackson Street to solve some of those issues. With the heavy trucks that go down that street, we didn't want to put a thin layer of asphalt and have it break up in a couple of years. And then probably our largest section is Park, Franklin, Blue Street. That's strictly a mill fill, grind off 1.5 inches, and then resurface with that same thickness. I should note too, in past years, we have done the fiber mat. That's basically a chip seal that has a fiberglass interlaced into the emulsion as it goes down. We're hoping to save money this year and integrate the fiberglass reinforcement into the actual asphalt, something the city of Columbus has done for a number of years. We hope that that will save money overall, and also coordination efforts with having to have multiple contractors try to coordinate when it's going to be ground out, and another contractor comes in, does the fiber mat, and then that first contractor comes back in and overlays over top of it. I should note too, we are going to West Mechanic Street, the section that's west of Franklin. What's curb and guttered is going to be resurfaced, and then there is a small section that is pretty beat up, and the German Township trustees can probably attest to it. We need to excavate that out and rebuild that section, as opposed to just overlay it. So there is going to be a small section of West Mechanic that's going to be dug out. We'll have to get with you trustees to make sure we coordinate with in and out access out of your facility when that construction's going on.
That's through the student process you're talking about.
Mhm.
You're gonna do that in all of these areas?
Correct.
Okay. And specifically, the intersection at Lafayette and South Defiance, is that gonna be the same thing? Same process?
Yes.
Okay. And do you anticipate a closure during that time?
We'll detour traffic. We actually had a meeting with a asphalt contractor on how they would approach it. And rather than, when that was originally constructed, probably don't remember, but that was 12 years ago, we actually detoured traffic out to Clyde's Way because it was much more significant with the concrete being used. We think that we can just detour traffic locally. So they're gonna be able to remove one lane, allow two-way traffic in the other two lanes. Fortunately, we have that third lane that we can utilize. And we probably will avoid school, so that we're not doing that construction while school is in session.
You confident the pavement idea is gonna hold up there with the truck traffic and sheer volume?
Confident enough that, yeah, I believe I don't believe it's worth spending any more money. We've rehabilitated that concrete a few times, and it's worked in probably 75% of the areas that we've utilized that. East Ludville Road, down at the east end, and then also near the South Pine Street intersection. West Bar at that intersection, there's just something with that pavement underneath those sections of Defiance Street that's just not allowing that concrete overlay to act the way it should. And they've come a long way. I shouldn't say a long way. They've come a ways with asphalt. Because originally, the whole thought of turning that intersection concrete was because of rutting issues, and especially that turn lane on West Bar Road. And I can't recall having rutting issues here in the past 12, 15 years like what we had with that intersection. What we have a lot is thermal cracking, and that's why we're using higher grade asphalts to help with that expansion contraction. Trying to look for an asphalt that's giving enough in the wintertime that it'll give, but then also stiff enough in the summertime when it gets to be 95, 100 degrees, pavement temperature is 130 degrees, that it will resist that rutting. So we're using the asphalt specifically in that area is what they would use in the turnpike. So it is rather robust.
And as a reminder, last year, the fiber mat was around $200,000 separate contract. 24%, 25% roughly of the total project. So
We're hoping we can do that for a fifth of the price by integrating the asphalt or the fiberglass into the asphalt rather than have that whole separate fiber mat be installed.
Have we done that contract with the road at this point?
With what we're doing this year, no. We've been using the fiber mat and it's behaved very well. We've been using that since 2019. We first used it on Westfield Drive.
But this is in process.
This is a new process, and we're just looking to help that reflective cracking from coming up through the base and up through the surface. Just trying to, you can't totally get rid of it, but we're just trying to prolong that from happening. So looking at bidding this, probably end of the month, we'll start advertising. Would look to open bids in mid-April, and then come back with an award of the project, probably that second meeting in April.
And we need to move on the approval of this so that you can get it out
I'm asking that, yes.
sooner as opposed to later.
which we had about 840,000 budgeted. So we dialed it back, and he actually feels he's conservative in that. Based on some market numbers, we think this number could even come in under the engineer's estimate, which we were significantly under last year for 20% under the estimate. So in the event that we get bids back that are lower, then we do have some extra dollars that we can address some other spots, like there's been discussion even putting some speed humps in the alley behind, the 200 block of North Defiance. There's a lot of cars that are cut through there, so there's some other little kind of back projects I'm considering that I would wanna add to if we do, get attractive enough numbers.
What about where the water line break was out in front of Mancino's? Is that part of this project as well? Is that separate?
That'll be that contractor's responsibility, Sound being that did the West Mechanic, Pleasant Street rebuild. That was still under warranty, so they will have to come back on their dime and repair that. Unfortunately, asphalt plants are not open in the winter. We just have to babysit that as much as we can until we get warm enough weather for asphalt plants to open up.
You're gonna take that whole section out, or just that whole, that's it?
We're gonna, it's not gonna be perfect, it's not gonna be as nice as what it was before. I think we pushed our luck with that because it was writing very nicely. But they're going to take that back as far as what we need to get rid of any humps that are there.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dexter, appreciate it. All righty, so resolution 2026 -11, I need a motion to suspend. Aaron, seconded by Gary. Chad?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes.
Motion to approve. Carla, seconded by Chad. Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
And
Yes.
alrighty, item F, resolution 2026-12. This is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to authorize easement agreements with Ohio Gas Company and declaring an emergency. This is something that we've been looking forward to for a long time, so let Aaron fill you guys in on that. And I think that has a little bit, something to do with getting that Slaughter Street
Yeah.
and some of
Yep.
those projects moving along.
So this has been something we've been working on now for a few years with the predicament that Ohio Gas is running their major main down the center of Slaughter Street through the field behind Evan Church up to County Road 24. Originally, we were kind of told if you want it moved, you're gonna spend $1 million plus to get it done. We respectfully sat down with them and just said we can't, we need to continue moving forward with residential efforts in this community. So Ohio Gas did approve to make this a 2027 project for them. All they asked from the town was that we participate in the easements, but then also Grant coordinated several meetings with different individuals, homeowners, businesses, as well as the church, and things are moving quite well with this. So there's 3 easements that will run down Lafayette Street, and we just need to keep this process moving forward. This will allow us to use some of those contributing dollars that we received from the congressional funding, the $1 million that was received from that grant, so that we can get the underground infrastructure in for Berg and Schlatter to hopefully loop those 2 streets and look for better connectivity in the future in that area. So we have a timeline with getting the utilities done, but Ohio Gas is, their timeline is not going to interfere with that.
Good project. Any questions? I'll ask for a motion to suspend. Gary, seconded by Kevin. Mike?
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yes.
Aaron? Chad?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion to approve. Aaron, seconded by Mike. Chad?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Aaron? Item G, we got the committee, board, and department reports. So we got the March 2nd, 2026 ordinance and resolution committee minutes. Any discussion there? I think Bob Bowman did a pretty good job touching base on that for us. Item B, got the February 2026 income tax report. Aaron?
Timing is everything with payroll and reporting taxes getting turned in. So year to date, we are up 1.11% income tax collection. So we'll continue to take it. We've estimated quite a bit of a turn down in regards to income tax for the year. So we are where we are, and grateful for everybody who shows up every day.
Sounds positive.
Yep.
Now, of course, for council's viewing, we got the February 2026 police report, the February 2026 fire and EMS report, and of course, the February 2026 fleet report. Nice to have the information just to look at. Any questions there from anybody? Anything you want to point out?
I just want to comment that 39 hours of labor servicing all these vehicles, even from just putting tires on, police cruisers, Jake and, the crew at the street department do all this work, so the amount of money that's actually saved by not having to outsource everything, especially when it comes to some of the diesel equipment, it's very appreciated from these guys, so. The snow plows are generally handled by our guys, and they put $1 million pieces of equipment, and they take care of them, so I just wanna commend them.
I think the street department and Parks Recreation did a good job getting trees cleaned up, brush and limbs and stuff in the windstorm, so I think we're pretty grateful for that. They're out about working, so get everything moving. Okay, so we'll come up to item H, and this is public participation. So we have a nice audience here, and so I am going to open this up to the audience here. If anybody has a question that they'd like to address with council or whatever, just raise your hand, and I would ask that you step up to the podium to speak. That way everybody can hear what's going on. And so we're willing to take any questions or concerns that you folks have. Sarah, if you'd like to step up to the podium, that'd be great.
Thank you for listening to my question. I've done some legal research that's contrary to what the attorney who was here today said about the special annexation procedure if it's a state annexation, so a significant economic impact project. So I have the statute right in front of me. You can all look it up. It's ORC 709.024. And I don't want to bore everybody, but the attorney said it had to be a state project, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I heard from back there, and that is not true. So a petition filed under 709.021 of the revised code that requests to follow this section is for the special procedure of annexing land into a municipal corporation for the purpose of undertaking a significant and economic development project. As used in this section, significant economic development project means one or more economic development projects that can be classified as industrial, distribution, high technology, research and development, or commercial, which projects may include ancillary, residential, and retail uses, and which projects shall satisfy one of the following: total, private, real, and personal property investment in a project shall be in excess of $10 million. Through land infrastructure, new construction, reconstruction, installation of fixtures, et cetera, et cetera. We already have that investment with the option contracts, which I believe is over $20 million. The next thing they have to have, there shall be created by the project an additional annual payroll in excess of $1 million. That's it. That's all they need are those two things. $10 million personal investment and a $10 million payroll. I don't know why he was saying it had to be a state project. That's not true. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful to him, but I'm reading from the statute. Then it says all they have to do, I don't want to read the whole statute out loud right now, we don't have enough time and everyone will get bored. You just have to petition, the landowner's petition, the state has to certify it and say they meet those two requirements. If they meet those two requirements, there's no appeal process. Correct. There's nothing you can do, it says no appeal process. So then it's annexed and you have to supply everything that you're gonna supply: water, sewer, roads, all of that. So then what happens? Our zoning actually will take effect. Our zoning matters. This is the most important zoning ever. I'm not here to fight for a moratorium. I think what German Township did is excellent, a great idea. They did not do a moratorium, they just are changing their zoning. And they did it, it's done. They did it so fast, it's already drafted, it's already done. We need to fix the zoning so that if something comes, we're ready and we're not just sitting here on our hands saying, oh, well, we don't have a moratorium, the state is annexing this property to us and our zoning is not ready. So I'm requesting that you please work with German Township and get their zoning language, because it's excellent, you've probably already seen it, because the state can annex this land for you. Thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate all of your work, and I'm sorry if I've been too noisy on Facebook. Thank you.
So is there anybody else?
Just a quick question. What has been done for zoning? I mean, it's been a month now. Have you started working on the zoning? And if you have, where are you at with the process?
Yep, we're working with our consultants who did our comprehensive plan that those in the community participated in the survey. They were involved in, we've had meetings and discussions with them on what we wanna see. We wanna see new zoning districts, because again, this town does not have the money to get sued. So we want a new zoning district established that would put these uses that we really don't want moved over into those. Because I'm not sure that the township zoning, because no, they have not shared it with me. But I'm not sure that their zoning is entirely compatible with what we would need here. Because they don't have the resources that we could offer. I mean, they can't offer the water, the sewer, and all that stuff. So, no, they've not shared it with me, but we don't have a draft to give you right now. It'll go before planning commission once it's complete.
I have a question about the comprehensive plan. I read it on the website and it was from 2021, and that's when you did the surveys. So there was nothing in there about industrial. It was all of the people wanted retail, residential, and more jobs. So the industrial was not in there. So you're saying that you're talking about that comprehensive plan from 2021 right now, and then you're going to change the zoning based on that?
No, I'm saying the person who actually helped us, the consulting firm that helped us, they're the ones who we're working with to help us draft this zoning change.
Okay, excuse me, I just didn't understand.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to be respectful, but Reveille, who helped us, it was before my time even with the town, we are using their group, Glenn Grisdale, that we've worked with to establish this. He's been in part of different zonings. He understands our zoning map and our zoning uses. I mean, we only have one section, that's really, it's the Souter Industrial section, and I refer to the group, it's like 72 and 73 page numbers. And that's ag land. It's only zoned agricultural. So anything that's not annexed, what's that?
Well, so the comprehensive plan was 2021. The one before that was like 1987, I think. The one before that was from the 60s. So you don't do this very often. So this type of data center industrial project that would be in German Township annexed land is not in that comprehensive plan. So you're saying you're gonna go back and change, why did you do the comprehensive plan if we're gonna change it
We're going to
now?
apply it to today's standards.
But that was only 5
What is the
years
timeline?
ago.
Yes.
I mean, we've been asking right from day one.
He's working on it in the month of March.
In the month of March might be too late. What Sarah said about annexation is absolute truth, and that some of the members sitting at the table have supported annexation.
Not true.
It's on record.
No,
Our goal,
That's okay,
Marty,
but
our
we're-
goal is not to just slap a Band-Aid on this, to make
There's no-
everybody go,
right,
"Wait,
there's
that's
no
not what
Band-Aid.
we're doing."
We're gonna get it right.
We need to make sure that we're taking our time intentionally. Sarah, we're not trying to say that the comprehensive plan that we put together in 2021 was an end-all be-all to cover everything, because quite honestly, in 2021, I'm pretty sure nobody in this room was talking about a data center. I wasn't on my radar at that time. If anybody else was, I think you were probably ahead of your time, right? So that comprehensive plan is just a plan that we put in place with a lot of other people. It wasn't just council. As a matter of fact, I don't think all of council was on that committee when we put it together. There were a lot of business people, a lot of representation from the community that sat down at the table for hours and days and weeks and months. I don't remember how long it took. It took quite a while to put that together. We tried to plan for the village's future at that time based on what we knew at that time and the factors that we could take into consideration. The only reason he's mentioning the comprehensive plan is because we are working with the organization that helped guide us through that process. That's who's helping guide us through the revamping and the conversation about our zoning and what it should look like.
Is the new zoning going to allow for data centers?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Is the new zoning going to allow for data centers?
It would probably be a conditional use in this new zoning district, and that's why we wanted to establish a new zoning district so that we have the buffers and the difficultness that we've had these discussions with about, you can't say no, but you can put a lot of parameters in place that would make it difficult.
Where would it be? the zone that you're talking about?
We
where would
wouldn't,
that
it wouldn't even be on the zoning map because we don't have any land we're gonna
Because it
zone
would be
that.
the German Township land, is what you're saying? Like,
If that's what came to us and annexed in,
then you would allow a data center if they followed certain rules?
The trustees would have to allow that first. It would have to pass the zoning before it could even come to us.
Well, the
It's
state,
not part of our law.
not according, not according
Okay, hold on,
to the
let's
state.
just have one person, if you wanna talk, stand up please, so we can hear you and
You can't
address,
zone something that's
address
not part
council.
of Archbold, am I correct? You can't zone something that's not part of Archbold.
Right. We're not sure.
I mean, there's no zoning map to change the zoning use on. So if we had something that was in there, like we have one piece of ag land, correct?
One piece.
If we have ag as a use, but if we didn't have any ag listed in our zoning, it's still a use, but it would have to be, something would have to be done in order to make it happen.
But that's why I suggested, if you have a land under option contract already, you should not be allowed to request rezoning and annexation, because you're not going to be the one using that land. So if you did that, and the attorney that was here, he just said, I don't like that, and it's a non-starter. He didn't give a legal reason why you can't do that. So if you did that, then the new land that's coming to German Township would not have to be zoned for a data center. You could say, it's already zoned for agriculture, according to German Township, we don't want to rezone it. That's what I don't understand.
That's what you're asking.
Yes. He didn't give a legal reason, I wrote it down, he said, it's a non-starter, and I don't like it.
And it took 4 weeks to get that.
We're not gonna make everybody happy overnight. We're not. And, you know, calling people out on Facebook, I think if you took a poll right now, and I'm speaking probably out of context completely, because I report to these individuals and the mayor, I don't know how we put this to rest if this group doesn't want a data center and does not want to annex any land. I mean, at the end of the day, I've heard from individuals that they don't support a data center and they don't want to annex any land. And they're willing to do a moratorium, but we're also trying to tread lightly on how do we meet the public's expectations. You know, there's 4 elected officials in this room. I think all 3 township members plus Joe are in here. I mean, how do we all meet the expectations of the community, and how do we protect the community? Because I'm not going to sit here and look at this group and say any one of them wants to destroy what we have. But trying to navigate this and meet the expectations and meet the emails that come in, and forgetting to respond to an email, but I was working on it. It is, I'm at a loss, folks. I am truly at a loss on how to meet the expectations of not letting it happen in a legal format. I can't speak on the elected officials. I'm the doer, but here we are.
We're not gonna allow a data center to come in. That's, it's just not gonna happen. Jason?
Just a quick question, the
Can you
tabling,
stand up so we can,
Yeah.
everybody can kind of hear you?
the tabling that you guys did on the, data center, is that still in effect?
Yeah, I mean, we were asked to table it, and we tabled it. I mean,
So it still stands?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I wanted to know.
We don't have anything we can address because nothing's been brought to us.
Were you at the township meeting last week with Dale Arnold? And he suggested the same thing, table it until we actually have something. So we've been pressured to follow a moratorium. Now that's basically off the table. So every week it's been a new request, and every week we're trying to figure it out too. So, you know, it is taking a while. This isn't gonna happen overnight, like Aaron said. This is a big deal. We're trying to do it the right way and the legal way.
Can we get an update on the zoning? Like, can you check this week, see where they are in the zoning, just to see where we're at on it?
I mean, and so the general terms of a zoning amendment, Grant's here, people in this room, Steve Sutter's not in the room anymore, but those who sat on the planning commission, zoning amendments have to go before planning commission. A recommendation has to be made to council to adopt it. Council can pass it by emergency. That's not a problem. But there's probably more steps, and I don't know how the township's process works. you guys basically were able to pass it, and it's all fully in effect?
No, so we had to come up with our wording first. We are at a spot where we feel we're comfortable in our wording. Next meeting on Monday, we'll probably look to start that process. We had to have the wording in place, and then from there, as soon as we make a resolution, there's 5 days that we have to get that wording to the county. So we had to make sure we had it in place ahead of time before we get it to the county. That starts the.
So it's not in full force as of today?
No, the big thing is it's zoned agriculture right now, that area. So the process to even switch the agriculture to whatever would be intended would be its own process where we would be able to say yes or no or modify or anything like that as well. There's other backstops.
Good. Anybody else?
I'm gonna just ask one more thing. I'm so sorry.
Sarah, could you stand so we could hear you? It's kind of hard to hear.
Okay, sorry. If today you passed an ordinance, or next time you met, that said, anyone who is under option contract and gets annexed in by the state, because that can happen based on that statute that I just read, should not be allowed to ask for rezoning from agriculture. And it's also to protect the farmland. It's not just about not wanting a data center, it's that we want farmland. So why can't you do that? Why do we have to wait this many months for you to go through all this zoning? Why can't we just do that?
So when it would get annexed in, they would apply our zoning. So we would
Exactly,
would get to pick what zoning district that gets annexed in as.
So yes, you could, but how do we know that you, like, so they're going to annex it in, and then you're gonna say, what?
We'll annex it in based on what the recommendation is from the
So you can't
consultant.
annex in a data center as agriculture, so then you.
We
so-
would pick the district that that's what the consultant's working on now, is identifying how we can be as restrictive as possible, because we can't be prohibitive in nature to a specific use. So whatever that district is, Aaron mentioned a new district, so that's when the restrictions would be in place.
But you could do this, what I'm suggesting, where they wouldn't be allowed to ask for rezoning if they're annexed in its agricultural land.
We would have to pick a district either way.
Well, it's already zoned agriculture in German Township. So if the state came in and said, this is a significant economic project and it's going to be part of the village of Archbold and you guys are in charge of supplying everything, and you know, they're gonna have gas plants and they're gonna need tons of water and sewer and everything else, you guys could say, no, because it's not zoned that way and we're not changing our zoning. And it's agriculture, and that's what it was when it was German Township, so we're not changing it. So if you passed an ordinance that said we're not going to do that, it would be an emergency, which I know that you pass a lot of things as emergencies and it's okay. So it would be an emergency, and it would just be an ordinance that said if you're already under, a property owner who is already under option contract to sell cannot request, is prohibited from requesting rezoning. Even if you don't wanna put annexation in there, because then you guys still have control over any property in Archbold that still wants to be annexed or around Archbold. So you're not tying your hands, and I understand there will be other property owners, you know, that maybe have a Dollar General or something, and you know, some Casey's or something, and they want their property to be annexed, and you guys want that because you want the jobs or the tax money or whatever, and that's good, that's important. But just for the land that is coming in from German Township that's already zoned agriculture, you could limit it to just that, to agriculturally zoned land that is being annexed by the state. You could make it so specific that it wouldn't affect the rest of your businesses.
Sarah, would that get us into legal trouble though?
Well, I don't
By
want
exclusion, by saying exclusionarily, we're not gonna, you know, I'm just concerned about that.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure we're not making any decisions here that are gonna get us into more trouble than what we bargained for.
But I completely understand your thought process on that, and I'm not trying to give legal advice. I'm giving legal suggestions. I am a Michigan licensed attorney, not an Ohio licensed attorney. I'm not holding myself out as one, but I have worked for Ohio attorneys. I do stuff in Michigan. I'm perfectly capable of studying the law in Ohio and Michigan. I have studied this law. I think that everything is new right now. AI data centers are new. There have been data centers for many, many years, but AI data centers and hyperscale data centers are a completely new thing. So all these things are new. So if you tried it and then they took you to Fulton County Court, I think that that judge might understand that this is an agricultural area. We're not in the middle of an industrially zoned area. So I would take the risk to protect this land. That's what I would do. But that's just my personal opinion, not legal advice.
Are you asking us to exclude any type of manufacturing?
No. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be bossy or, I'm just giving suggestions because I think we all are on the same page. I don't think anybody here wants an AI data center in the middle of the farmland between Archbold and Pettisville and between two schools. So I'm just trying to help, and I cannot rest. I feel so passionate about this. It's so important that we fight this and we don't just roll over. And I'm just trying to add what skills I have to help. And I'm not trying to do anything wrong or be annoying to you or put anybody down. I really just want to help and all be on the same team so we can work together, because I think you guys don't want a data center. So I'm just trying to help. And I think if we wait months, it will be too late. Or it could possibly be too late, because the state is chomping at the bit to give away their grant money. And there are a lot of grants out there. They get grants for starting, I think all their infrastructure will be paid for. Water, sewage, roads, everything. If you study it, you'll see why I'm almost panicked about this. So I just think it's definitely something you might want to look into as an option.
Has anyone in Ohio done that?
I'm sorry?
Has anyone in Ohio done that? That exclusion?
The idea?
Yeah.
No, but we're kind of on the cutting edge here. And everyone right now, the trend is moratoriums. But then the data centers, like in Saline in Michigan, they went out, their judicial system is different there, but they got sued, and now they're getting a data center. So the tech company's trying to catch up, and they go after small little rural towns where everybody's comfortable, and we don't have a lot of lawyers or a lot of help. They get the land because we just are tired, and it's too much to deal with. So we're just trying to say, okay, or we get these carrots dangled in front of us for money for schools. It's not worth it. So I have researched, I have not found that anyone else has done this, but why can't we have a new idea than just going along with what everybody else is doing that maybe won't work?
I think all of us want to put this to rest, including my conversations, which I know that there's doubt that, I told Luke and Austin, I said, get rid of your options. Tell your financer that they lost out on $15,000, $20,000 on an idea. Let them go. And I know when I shared that with a couple people, you posted that they could just sign them up and, sign on for more money. But I think when I've had the conversations with Luke and Austin, I truly want this to go away.
So
I take off the day from work, and I'm doing nothing but talking to either council members, community members, or
It's not
Luke and
about
Austin.
Luke and Austin. It could be anybody. I don't even know them. I obviously am not from here. I've only lived here for 3 years. I do not have the family ties, the jobs, the friends. That's why I'm able to speak up for people that are afraid to say things. So I'm just going to. So Luke and Austin, they're two businessmen who are trying to do a development. I am not after them. They're just two men who are trying to make money.
Oh, and I'm not defending them as individuals. I'm
Let's say
saying
that they give up
for us to get them to just give up their pipe dream,
Right, but let's say they give it up. So this land is right now, it's out there, everyone knows these guys are gonna sell. Some stranger from, California or New York or wherever could come in and say, I'm gonna give you $200,000 per acre. These guys have endless amounts of money that we can't even comprehend. So we need to be prepared.
So
and it's not about.
It's not to worry about us getting them to just walk away from their options.
Because if they do, someone else.
You're worried about somebody else coming and not them coming up and re-signing them for more money.
Yeah, and because they're after Northwest Ohio. I mean, I've posted that all over the place, but RGP they're having meetings in Toledo, they're marketing Northwest Ohio as the data center capital of the world. And some of these data centers that are going in, they're owned by foreign companies from all over. Why would we want that? Nobody wants that.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
This might be a question for Sarah, but has the state forced an annex? Has that precedent been set?
I'm, okay, so I've been trying to find out and it's hidden. So I have talked to people, I think they did it in, I don't wanna say, because I'm not 100% sure. You have to go into their minutes, it is not advertised, and it is very hard to find. They have done it with some projects. The data center stuff is very hidden, and it's very hard to find public records on it. So they have done it with other projects. I don't know about data centers for sure, but why wouldn't they? It fits the bill, why not?
Alrighty. Anybody else? Okay, next count.
Wait, one more. Hi. I'm not sure if the question was answered on the timing of the zoning updates. I know you said you wanted to be careful and that you're consulting, but is there a timeline in the near future?
Chad asked for an update this week.
Was a date given?
No, I just asked.
No, he just asked
10
it.
minutes ago.
10 minutes ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
They're gonna look into
Yeah.
it.
Okay, well, next council meeting is gonna be,
Mayor and council comments. You guys have anything else you'd like to share?
I would like to share. So, you know, I didn't grow up here, okay? I've lived here for 36 years. And this is a great community with a lot of great people. Not just inside city limits, village limits of Archbold, but our neighbors who live outside of village limits. And I've never seen anything like this before. I've never seen people hateful toward one another the way that I've seen over the last 6 or 8 weeks. And it's disheartening. We're doing the best that we can. I appreciate that Aaron has said, you know, not one of us up here is interested or excited about a data center. Please understand that we're not, and we're not against you. You know, the people that are bringing information to us, we appreciate it. There is a lot of information out there, but we have got to all work together. We're working with zoning, or we're working with the trustees. We're trying to get our zoning in order. Our goal is not to push you guys off. We aren't trying to brush this under the rug. That's not gonna solve anything. We're trying really hard to just make sure that the decisions that we do make, we don't have to come back to them again in 6 months or a year because, oh, we overlooked something and now we have to redo it again. And we have to continually rip the Band-Aid back off and go back through it again. So we just appreciate the support, the understanding, the patience as we do walk through it intelligently and very methodically to make sure that we're protecting the community. I just really feel it's important that everybody try to be on the same page and understand we're not working against anybody. We're not trying to work against people.
And I guess, you know, coming back into this just for one more moment, Sarah, on the group's Facebook page, it was posted about that the current property owner has to petition that annexation in order for the options to be exercised.
Yes, and it's in the contracts, right?
And, I mean, I guess one of the stopgaps is if, I'm not gonna name any names, because right now, you know, you can't fault the people who are gonna get a payout, but at the same time, you know, I'm probably more frustrated with them than anything, to be honest. If any of them walked into my office and said, I wanna annex my land, I'd probably chuckle at them and be like,
But the state can do it without your
so the
approval.
state can do it on their behalf.
Yes, that's what I'm worried about. That's the statute that it can be used with private money, even though that attorney that was here said, no, it has to be public. I read the statute to you. You only need a $10 million private investment and a $1 million payroll. And it's considered, the state will consider it a significant economic impact project. So that's why it doesn't matter if you guys say, I won't annex. I believe you. We believe you. We're not after you. We just want to be prepared for when the state does it.
Are data centers considered a public investment or are they considered a private?
Private.
So the state can only annex that on public?
No.
No,
Private property.
but
They
for
can-
private, or for a public,
Private use. Yeah, as long as they say it's a significant economic impact project where the people invested $10 million, private money, and they can say this private land has to be annexed to a township or a village in order to get their water and their sewer and their roads. And it does not have anything public, but they can apply for grants and get a bunch of stuff paid for them. Because Ohio's pushing this so hard.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Do you believe the state, because that contract is written like that with all these people, do you believe the state can do it on that person's behalf because that person is the one who's supposed to
Right,
do
so
it?
the person has to petition the state. So all of the landowners that are under option contract, they have to, if whoever's behind this, I'm not saying Boyers or Iron Ridge because I don't know, and they might sell it to someone who decides to develop it, so I don't know. So whoever's behind this, if they say, okay, we're gonna go ahead with our land deal, and we're gonna give you your 50,000 an acre, but conditional on that, you have to petition the state of Ohio to be annexed to the village of Archbold. We're gonna go that route because it makes more sense because we don't think we have all the votes of the council members. So then they go to the state. They have to do it or they don't get their $50,000 an acre.
I think that's something we should look into, because that's a very fine line right there that I think should be addressed. You know, that, I mean, what the state does, we can't stop it.
Right,
Unless we have
right.
something in
Unless-
place.
right.
If we have something in place, we might be able to stop it.
You can stop them with
But
zoning.
I just don't wanna stop individual landowners from being able to petition the village. Because that, you know, deters business
And that's
within the
not what I'm
village.
asking.
We're looking at the state being petitioned by the landowner.
Well, so you can't stop them from doing that either. So that's not what I'm asking. I'm just gonna be super clear. You cannot stop private landowners from petitioning the state to be annexed based on that statute. But you can change your zoning so that once they are annexed into the village, then that land stays zoned agriculture. You can say, you can make your ordinance, because we're a home rule state. That's what's so great about Ohio. We're supposed to have control over our tiny villages and towns and not have the state telling us what to do all the time. The reason Ohio is like this is to shield us exactly from this, from the state coming in and saying, no, we're gonna change the whole landscape of your town. So your zoning is your key to everything. So if you say that we have a zoning ordinance which says no property owner who is annexed onto the village from agricultural land in a neighboring township by the state, you can make it by the state, is allowed to apply for rezoning. So unless you don't wanna do that, but that's just my suggestion.
And if they can't make you provide water and sanitary services that you don't
Yeah.
have.
Yes, they can.
We don't have
No,
sewer service.
If you don't have
Well,
it,
they'll
if you
build
don't have it, they can't make you.
So there's
They
so
can't make
many.
you provide services that you're not
that you
able
don't
to
have.
provide.
No, but they can supply the money
Right,
to have it built.
exactly.
And the state of Ohio is giving I have it all
I'm
written
not
down,
sure
I
they
don't have it
wanna
with
do
me,
that.
but there are a lot of grants, like millions and millions of dollars in grants right now for this, where they'll pay for them to get their water, the sewer, the roads. And you guys, like, you won't have to pay for it, but do you want all of that in Archbold? You know, and then also, like we learned from the Farm Bureau, that they can build their own gas power plants. And if you look at New Albany, those are several data centers, it's not just one. And for 1,000 acres, you could have several data centers and each one can have their own natural gas power plant. So once they get the data center, they can go crazy with building their power plants. And it'll change everything.
Okay, good information. Anybody else?
You're gonna get me. You know, I'm
Wanna
trying,
please stand?
I'm sitting, you know, come to the meetings and I'm trying to honor what you're saying. Nobody wants data centers. But when there's groups, there's knowledge in the groups. It's not just behind this table. So just as an observer, it doesn't take 6 weeks to get an attorney in here. I said it I'll say it again. It seems like you guys are in slow motion. It's not gonna work for this. There's no EPA laws. There's no ODNR laws. They're doing whatever they want. So you gotta do something. She's got wisdom. She's right.
Thank you for that, Marty. Anybody else? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Kevin, seconded by Aaron. All in favor?
Aye.